Yeah, it has. They've gone with 125 miles per hour now.
125.
Yep, they've put it up to 110 knots. That
Yeah.
is what I'm seeing at the National Hurricane
Yeah, that's it.
Center.
Of course, indeed, they have just done that, and I'm trying to sort out my images here right now. They've broken a little bit. We'll come back to this view. That's not LaPorte, Texas. That LaPorte, Texas is somewhere else on the image. We'll get that back for you shortly. In any case, if you've just joined us, Harvey has intensified to 125 mile-an-hour winds. It's a strong Category 3 on the verge of Category 4 intensity, and Devon has just upgraded to Stage 5 on the CDPS scale that he created, which means that the potential for devastation has risen up yet another notch.
And that's obviously, well, the CTPS scale obviously is brand new. Well, would you call it brand new? Relatively new. Relatively new. To it, how well I don't. Well, for those that don't know, Nathan, I don't know whether you'd know anything or somewhat anything about the CTPS, or whether Devin could explain in the live comments of how the CDPS scale works.
Yeah, well, Devon did talk about it earlier
aren't.
on, and we might get him back at some point. He is watching, and he is responding in the stream whilst we're here. But that's the latest news. Harvey up to 125 miles per hour winds in the latest update, and no new warnings, but a discontinuation of some other warnings. Let's see if we can get any more news on the tornado warnings that were in effect earlier. There was a tornado warning for Galveston. At 3:51, another tornado warning remains in effect in northwestern Galveston County. I don't think there's any new tornado warnings that are now in effect. In 3 hours' time, David over there in Australia will be running the stream until whenever this storm makes landfall, I assume, or whenever he sees fit. I'll be finishing up here at midnight UTC. The current time was we've just entered 9 o'clock UTC, which of course on the Central Daylight Time is around, what time is it over there? 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. on the East Coast. Craig, what are your thoughts on Harvey's appearance and whether the intensity that they say it is justified? You think it should be higher or lower?
Well, it might be higher, but I would agree with 125 miles per hour. But I know, as we know, Recon is in the storm, and if they find higher, then looking at it right now, you know, I would say it could support higher, but not much higher.
Well, I'm just going to go away for a few moments here in the studio. I will let the rest of the capable team talk for a little while about the storm, but just so they know, I won't be here for a few moments. And it will be a little bit more impromptu than what we usually do on our live streams, usually rather scripted in the sense of where we go to our intermissions and such, but we won't be doing so much of that during this event. Obviously it's a significant occasion, and we need to be on top of everything all of the time, so it's going to be a little bit less organised, but I'm sure you'll forgive us for that. In any case, over to you.
Okay. Okay. I think Hobby is looking at this moment impressive. It is almost a Cat 4. Almost. Almost. Not it is. Almost Cat 4.
Well, looking at Recon, Marcel, this thing might be ready to go on the verge of Category 4. But anything's possible, though, Marcel. Anything is possible. I'm willing to see what happens. Recon could easily find Category 4 for its wins. The eye is looking... How can I say? it's been that this time last night. It was probably getting ready to blow up that massive supercell on the western side of it, which completely engulfed the eye, pretty much engulfed the storm completely. But now it's just looking amazing. Is all I can describe it as. Really, it's just an amazing looking hurricane. But it's gonna hit land, which is the sad thing. This would be one heck of a storm to track if it was a fish storm, but sadly this isn't the case. It's gonna hit land, sadly. But the eye is looking even better in the last few frames, so it's gonna be. I'm willing to see what the recon comes out with. So, and a confirmed tornado on the ground in near Galveston, Texas City. Here we are. A tornado warning remains in effect until 4:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time for northwestern Galveston County. At 3:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time, a confirmed tornado was located over Bayou Vista, moving northwest at 35 miles per hour. Weather spotters reported a tornado on Broadway and Seawall that had done damage to a McDonald's sign at 3:47 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So that's the confirmed tornado. And obviously the event has happened.
And just to take note, Craig, that if Harvey managed to attain Category 4 status, it will be the first Category 4 hurricane to ever strike Texas since Carla of 1961. So that means there's
just to jump in. Recon has now found a new low pressure of 941 millibars in the eye. So that is now a new record low pressure for Harvey. Well, the question is now, how deep does this thing want to go before landfall, and how deep can it get before landfall? Because this thing really is pushing the boundaries.
Craig and Cesar and Marcel, National Weather Service Fort Worth has just put out a posting as at 4 p.m. latest radar shows Harvey I is now just 60 miles east-southeast of Corpus Christi.
Yeah, this thing's really going to be tight in whether it does hit Corpus Christi directly or it just misses to the northeast. But looking at it, it could just miss it to the northeast. But this is just going to be very, very tight. But either way, this is going to be a very tricky storm to try and predict whether it might hit Corpus Christi. But regardless of it, where it hits, Corpus Christi will feel hurricane force conditions. Major hurricane force winds is probably a certain at the time. According to the NHC forecast, I think the NHC new forecast cone has come out. I'm just going to refresh the National Hurricane Center page. Let's just have a look here. I'm going to bring up a screen share of it. If it has, let me just see if it's loaded. Yes, it has. Well, I wonder if anyone can make heads or tails, or head or tails of this, because this is just a giant mess. An absolute giant mess.
And I agree with you, Craig, because Harvey, of course, is practically a monster. I mean, still intensifying, even that is practically almost inland.
It's an absolute jumble on that latest new graphic.
Let me try and see the discussions. Let me see what their forecast peak is. They might change it. No, they have not. They're saying that it's peaked now at 125 miles per hour.
That makes sense because the first landfall dot is inland.
Yes.
The first landfall dot, the first forecast dot is inland.
But I guess it's all up to what Harvey decides to do as we found out. In a big way as well, whether Harvey continues to intensify. Because just to let you know, Nathan, recon found a new low pressure of 941 millibars in the eye, and also there was a confirmed tornado in Galveston moving northeast at 35 miles per hour, which had done damage to a McDonald's sign on Seawall. So that was tornado warning has just been extended.
A tornado, that?
Yeah, confirmed tornado.
Really?
Weather spotters confirmed it, yeah.
Breaking news, a new tornado warning is in effect for west central Galveston County and northeastern Brazoria County. That was issued 1 minute ago. It's in effect until 4:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Locations impacted include Southern League City, Texas City, Lamarck, Santa Fe, Hitchcock, Bayou Vista, and Tiki Island. Take cover now in these areas. And at 4:02, the tornado warning remained in effect in northwestern Galveston County as well. The tornado warning that was in effect for southeastern Wharton County, south central Fort Bend County, southwestern Brazoria County, and north central Matagorda County is still in effect until 1:15. And I think those are all of the warnings that are currently effective.
Yes. I think that's all from what I've got to show anyway. Whether whether anyone else has anything, but I don't know whether microwave oranges come out yet, but I don't think so. Not yet anyway. May have, but
just a reminder that at the top of the hour, these following warnings were discontinued. The tropical storm warning south of Port Mansfield was discontinued. The storm surge watch was discontinued south of Port Mansfield. The government of Mexico discontinued the tropical storm watch north of Boca de Catan in Mexico. So what remains is a storm surge warning for Port Mansfield to High Island, Texas, a hurricane warning for Port Mansfield to Sargent, Texas, and a tropical storm warning for north of Sargent to High Island, Texas. Pretty much all of the uncertainty has now been erased, and it's a certainty pretty much that hurricane conditions will be experienced in the hurricane warning area, tropical storm conditions will be received in the tropical storm area, and they don't anticipate anywhere else to get tropical storm force winds or hurricane force winds.
Just to say, Nathan, now new wind gusts have been reported now down on the coast of Texas right now, just southeast of Corpus Christi. Gusts of close to hurricane force now.
Really?
Gusts of 62 knots has been recorded.
When was that?
At the Pac 2 Seaman Station. That was at 2048 UTC. That was the time that it was.
Well, the National Hurricane Center hasn't put that in their update, but a station at Aransas Pass recorded a sustained wind of 56 and a gust to 71. Is that the same one?
That's probably the same one, yeah. If it's 62 knots anyway, but right about there. That's what GR Level 3 is telling me that on the events that have just occurred, according to this. Which has been the first tropical storm gust. Well, it's been there for quite a while, but obviously there probably is still, regardless of that, tropical storm force winds going on. These are only probably recording the strongest of gusts, and then soon when Harvey starts getting closer, there will be sustained recorded winds a lot up along the coast. And looking at the latest image of radar, that northwestern Eyewall is just getting stronger. So this is going to be interesting to see what it does when it gets up toward landfall and how much.
Yeah, I think it is coming back on the western side yet again, and the eye temperature is now up to 13 Celsius.
Yeah, the eye in the last few images on Go 16, it's just looking incredible on how it's looked. And
is the eye expanding out?
I haven't seen it expanding out any further than it just stopped for now. But looking at the outer bands there, just further north of Harvey, it's blowing up some pretty strong convection, even some thunderstorms overland. These are probably going to be some of the ones that are close to the tornado warned area. Tornado warning. Yeah, pretty close to it, but these are just some severe and possibly strong thunderstorms, not severe warned.
It looks to me now, it's gone decidedly northwest again. It looks to me as though the storm will probably make landfall at this rate, maybe about 10-15 miles, maybe 20-25 miles north of Corpus Christi.
Yeah, as to be said, that this is gonna be very, very tight to see whether this thing does hit Corpus Christi directly, or just skiffs it with the Eyewall, but gives it brilliant force, as it just gives it one hell of a doing. It's regardless of if Corpus does get the Eyewall, the full storm, the eye literally gets the eye and everything. Regardless of it just getting that piece and quiet in the eye and then getting the secondary Eyewall, if it's it's going to get absolutely battered by extreme hurricane force wind, intense hurricane force winds. So this is going to be touch and go whether the eye does pass over Corpus right now, but it's going to be close.
Extrapolating its current movement, it looks to me as though landfall will occur, if it was to keep its movement, on Matagorda Island, and perhaps move over San Antonio Bay and inland towards Victoria. Victoria could be very close to this, by the way. If it slides east a little bit, you're looking at Port O'Connor, definitely. I think they'll get the Eyewall as it is. And then you've got Rockport, which might get the Eyewall on the western side, which is perhaps the dreaded western side, because that looks the strongest by some distance, and always has, but this is the radar that we're talking about. And perhaps if it was to veer off west a little bit more, you're looking at Aransas Pass and Port Aransas, Corpus Christi, just on the edge of an Eyewall at worst, it would appear at the moment, but it could still come. Obviously, hurricane force conditions I'd expect in all of those areas, and that's going to happen real soon, because when you look at the radar now and you take a look at what it's been doing in the last hour, which is what we're looking at, on the imagery, I would say that I'm trying to judge distances here, but if we talk about, well, first let's talk about timing. If we look at how much progress it's made in an hour, then it looks as though it's about 2 hours from the Eyewall, the inner Eyewall, making its first landfall, and another hour maybe for the eye. What do you think?
Yeah, well, either way, it's not going to get any better from here, folks. It's literally going to continually go downhill, and pretty fast.
By my reckoning, the storm, the Eyewall, the western Eyewall, is about 29 miles from land.
Yes.
No, less than that. Sorry, about 27 miles from the closest. 27 miles from the closest point of land, and if it's moving at what the National Hurricane Center says, what did they say?
10 miles an hour.
10.
I think they're saying 10 miles an hour northwest.
So at that rate, the Eyewall will reach Matagorda Island, perhaps, and other areas in that region around Port Aransas and Rockport in about 2 hours, 3 hours.
2 hours, yeah, 2 hours or 2 or 3, if not, well, depending. As we speak, it's pretty much decreasing right as we speak, as you would expect, because it is moving at 10 miles an hour. And just to reiterate, the conditions are not going to get any better, folks. This is just going to continue going downhill and downhill rapidly. Recon has now just done a north sector pass, and they're looking like they're going to go in from the west and move through the eye to the western Eyewall to the eastern Eyewall. So they're going to probably do another Eyewall pass. So it's going to be interesting to see what they find.
David?
I don't know whether...
Levi Cowan, the owner-operator of Tropical Tippets, has just put out a posting. The recon aircraft is currently observing hurricane force winds just off the Texas coast between Corpus Christi and Matagorda Bay. Hurricane force winds now impacting that area.
Yeah, going with the recon, the hurricane force winds are pretty much right on the coast doorstep. They're literally gonna come. They're gonna. It's not gonna get any better from here, as I'm gonna keep on saying. It's just gonna get worse from.
And for our viewers. And sorry, Craig, Nathan, it's now 4,323 days since a major hurricane struck the US, and the chain is about to be broken by this severe hurricane.
Well, we don't know for certain if it's going to be broken. It could substantially weaken. A little bit wishful thinking there, but
yeah,
it is the longest drought. As I said last night on a few occasions, the longest major hurricane drought in US history, because US didn't exist the last time we had a drought of this length. 12 years is the current drought, and last time we had such a drought it was a drought that ended in 1775 with a Newfoundland hurricane, which initially struck the east coast of the US as a likely major. In the meantime, we continue to look at our imagery in the top left hand side of the screen from LaPorte, which is very close to Houston, and a few bands went through there earlier. Let's see if we've got any more news on the tornadoes whilst everyone finds some new stuff to talk about. Obviously,
just one tornado warning, but I think that's going to be soon to expire because that warning area has now shrunk, and the other tornado warning has been cancelled.
We'll continue to look at the radars, of course, and needless to say, lots and lots of flood warnings that are currently in effect, and there's quite a few special marine warnings out there as well. There's still some heavy weather about to wash ashore in Louisiana and in eastern Texas, and of course the hurricane proper, which is about to arrive in about 2 hours in the Corpus Christi area to its northeast.
Nathan, do we support Harvey reaching Cat 4 status?
Well, it's difficult right now. It's not got much time left. It ought to be weakening at this point, but there's no evidence that that is yet occurring as the recon planes keep finding lower and lower pressures. 941, is that still the lowest?
Yeah, that's still the lowest. That was the latest drops on.
Now, the eye temperature, which was 13 degrees earlier, is now at 10 Celsius. So it's still pretty high. But again, the western eyewall ain't looking great. But I gotta say, looking at the infrared imagery, let's see if we can get this up on the screen. Might take a minute or two.
Whilst you're doing that, Nathan, just following the Twitter platform, is the NHC's position just shy of classing Harvey as a Cat 4 system?
Well, of course it is. The 125 miles an hour by definition is just shy of Category 4 status.
And unfortunately, read the rainfall. CNN is reporting that some areas of Texas coast could see 40 inches.
Very true.
Through Wednesday.
And here's the latest infrared imagery that you're looking at now. And Craig, if you're seeing this on the screen, or anyone in the room, what are your thoughts on that huge band, that spiral off towards the east and wrapping all the way around the south? It's almost like a crescent moon.
Yeah, it's worrying, because you can see there in the last few images, in that IR image, you can see how the eye has just become even more symmetric. That in itself is alarming, along with the colder cloud tops even wrapping around it even further. So, you know, the question begs to be seen: is this thing still deepening? I think it is, along with a recon with their evidence. But is the storm still strengthening? Could it reach Category 4? Quite possibly. But if it were to, I'd probably only say maybe 130 miles an hour at the most. I'm hoping it doesn't reach it. But looking at it, it's wow. It's really not looking good, because looking at the eye wall, closer to the eye wall, you can see how the cloud tops there are cooling. That in itself there is also a very bad thing, because that means that the eye wall is getting that time to get even more energy to it, and even help getting itself to strengthen. So this could this might just reach Cat 4. I'm hoping it doesn't. We all hope it doesn't. We hope it. We hope for everyone's sake that it just starts substantially weakening. But you know, I think it's sad to say that even for the most optimistic, that it doesn't look like it. I'm afraid. I wish that were the case, that it were weakening, but the sad thing is that it is not. And you know, I hope that all the people on the Gulf Coast, I wish them all the best of luck and getting through this hurricane, because this is not going to be easy.
David.
Key messages for Hurricane Harvey. Advisory 22, 4 p.m. local time. Harvey main points. Harvey will make landfall tonight, bringing life-threatening storm surge, rainfall and wind hazards to portions of the Texas coast. Tropical storm force winds have moved onshore in portions of the warning areas, and conditions will continue to deteriorate as the eye Harvey approaches the middle Texas coast tonight. A storm surge warning is in effect for much of the Texas coast, like threatening storm surge flooding could reach heights of 6 to 12 feet above ground level at the coast between the north entry of the Padre Island National Seashore and Sargent. For a depiction of areas at risk, see the storm surge warning graphic. Catastrophic and life-threatening flooding is expected across the middle and upper Texas coast from heavy rainfall, 15 to 30 inches, with isolated amounts as high as 40. So that has deteriorated further compared to, let's say, 2 days ago and through a Wednesday. So that's the latest.
Crazy.
I don't know whether anybody wants to know the supposed ADT estimates, but I know pretty much for now these are somewhat relevant, somewhat, but I'm going to read them out anyway. Raw T is now 6.4, and maximum knots are now 117.4.
Craig, we're looking on the imagery, the infrared, and some really high cloud tops off to the storm's east. The area that's just south of Louisiana, and even more rainfall, it looks like, in further east in Louisiana as well. Not seen anything to do with flooding on that yet, but any idea?
Well, in that big area, that would just be to do with, say, with Harvey's curve band that's there at the minute, but I would need microwave imagery. But going by that would be a very significant thunderstorm that had blown up. So that could be that could prove a threat, maybe for tornadoes, maybe even tornadoes, water spouts, tornadic activity will be possible with that, and could be possible. Because pretty much anything that could come with this may produce, maybe a funnel cloud, might actually produce a tornado or a water spout. But Depending whether this is high precipitation, you might not see a tornado or a water spout, but if it is low precipitation, please keep an eye on the clouds, just in case if you do see a funnel cloud or a tornado.
And of course there already has been a tornado so far. The first casualty appears to be a McDonald's sign.
Yes, probably rated as an EF0, but there's been no other damage reports. But as far as I know, that would probably be a EF0 tornado.
Alright. We'll come back to this view again shortly. We'll return to the visible loop in just a moment, but first of all let's go to David's screen and another model projection of the accumulated rainfall.
This is an old view. The site's currently updating, but
and look at, even into western Louisiana, there are huge amounts of rainfall.
So it's definitely expanding northeast.
It's just what the storm's expected to do. It's eastward movement after landfall. Let's go back to visible imagery. And this is how the storm's been progressing in the last 40 minutes or so. Marcel, what are your thoughts?
Oh my god, I think this is the storm of the year.
And this is only August, and this is the first month of the peak season in Atlanta, but I really would hate to see what September and maybe October brings. I am really dreading this. Because if this is what August has got to throw at us, then I really am worried to see what September and October is. Yes, October isn't really a peak season month, but you can get the odd you can get the odd big hurricane in October, but there is the chance that it could happen again this year. But I am really nervous to see what September and October brings.
Again, we're checking in
Go
with
on.
the latest radar here, and some serious bands about to wash ashore Corpus Christi and those locations northeast of it, such as Rockport and other locations, Aransas Pass, Port Aransas, Portland, Matagorda Island, up to Port O'Connor. All of that looks to be entering the orange areas very shortly, and that is sort of the peripheral of the Eyewall, you would say.
Yeah, they're at the periphery, so this is probably where, when that starts moving across the land or starts heading towards land, this is probably where you start to see, definitely start seeing hurricane force conditions, rapidly increasing amounts of rainfall and wind speeds rapidly increasing to, say, high in Category 1, maybe low in Cat 2, maybe trying to push Cat 3 at that point. But that is the outer periphery of the Eyewall, so you would now start to be preparing for the worst of the hurricane, some of the worst of the hurricane winds. But that isn't the worst, because the main Eyewall itself is still offshore when that comes on shore, when that makes landfall. But then the main Eyewall will definitely not be far away, because it would be less than, if that were to happen, it would be less than an hour or so offshore if that were to happen.
Harvey, Eyewall, just signing a report. Harvey's Eyewall, about 25 miles from the Texas case. Landfall could be around 9 p.m. near Rockport.
And don't forget, the National Hurricane Center will be updating every hour.
Because they do that because if there's any warnings or watches in effect, and especially you hourly updates, because this is a serious event and a serious hurricane that is going to make landfall. I'm looking at the Western Eyewall, 50 to pushing 60 dBz on radar, high end 50 dBz on radar. That's pretty strong rain bands. And the Western Eyewall of Harvey. So.
And I've got breaking news from the National Weather Service. Houston, it's been reposted by Tornado Crest. The NWSWPC has issued the first ever Day 3 high excessive rainfall risk, supporting Harvey as a devastating flooding event. National Weather Service WPC has issued the first ever Day 3 high excessive rain risk, supporting Harvey as a devastating flooding event.
Yeah, I think flooding is definitely going to be assured that that will be a significant threat, along with the major hurricane force winds. But looking at it, it's now the question how much rain is Harvey going to dump. And just as give an update on recon, nothing is coming through the AF-307 aircraft. It's still heading towards land. It's still in the same place. It's not updated, but NOAA 2 hasn't updated either, so I think NOAA 2 has finished because it's heading away from the storm, moving east. So I think the NOAA 2 mission has finished, and I don't know whether the AF-306 is going to take off. It probably won't.
Tornado warning has been issued for north central Aransas County and southeastern Refugio County in south central Texas, just a few dozen miles north of Corpus Christi. At 4:32, which is 3 minutes ago, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Tivoli, or 11 miles west of Seadrift, moving southwest at 45 miles per hour southwest. Take cover now in that area.
Nathan, just also breaking news as well, off of Texas as well, down by the coast, NES Corpus Christi, or NES Corpus, has recorded a hurricane-forced gust.
Oh, wow.
Gusting up to 75 miles per hour. Yeah, this is going to get worse here from here, folks. This is it really, really starting to ramp up now, because Harvey's been flexing his muscles all day, and now this is him going to start getting the
and the eye just keeps appearing to get better and better in these latest frames. Craig, do you think this will make landfall before sundown?
It might. This is going to be touch and go, but it might. But if it doesn't, we might not see it. But regardless of it, and I know my computer's trying to die, but I don't care that it's low in memory because it needs to stop being stupid. I'm trying to do something very serious. But regarding the question whether will it make landfall during what's left of the day, it might. As I've said, it might. But it's going to be very, very tight. It's going to be right down to the wire if it's going to do that.
And I'm going to break in. It's been reported by CNN that the mayor of Galveston, currently emergency services in that area are now undertaking vertical evacuations, hotels and high rise.
Wow.
Emergency services currently doing vertical evacuations from hotels and high rise. That means that and if there's any viewers that could confirm an outage of electricity, if this is the case, and then they probably haven't got power for the lifts.
Oh gosh, yes. Here's another satellite view.
But looking at it, it just looks like Harvey is just getting, wow, better and better, as the as it goes on towards landfall.
14 Celsius eye there in the latest frame.
That's amazing, and how close it's getting towards land, especially with its eye, and it's still warming its eye, and still continuing to clear.
And those western Eyewall cloud tops are consolidating too, aren't they? Southwest.
Yeah, they're starting to blow up as well. So we could be seeing this could be the last final blow up and wrap round from Harvey, but it might not be. We might see a few more before the initial.
2 hours, Craig.
Yeah, 2 hours. But then again, as Harvey's is done, it's pushed the boundaries a lot, as we've seen. And I mean an awful lot. I think an awful lot, so that's an understatement. But, you know, this thing's just looking better and better as the images go on. So it's going to be touch and go. But the eye is looking... It's looking clear. A lot clearer.
I have a live stream from Lorenzo's Pass. A webcam from Lorenzo's Pass.
And the Mayor of New York, the New York Governor is ready to provide personnel, equipment, anything else Texas and Louisiana may need. And that's the news from the New York Governor.
Just breaking news is coming in now. Recon has apparently now found 940 millibars awaiting drops on data. So that, just to confirm, or just to repeat, 940 millibar has been reported by the reconnaissance plane.
Good evening, guys.
That's Orlando joining us from the US East Coast, almost coast. What are your thoughts?
It's quite amazing how fast Harvey intensified, and it's quite scary because there's hundreds of thousands of people along the Texas coastline and even inland portions around Houston, Corpus Christi, which is another coastal area. But overall, it's just basically the rain is already bad enough as it is. But now you're adding a mixture of strong, damaging winds and life-threatening storm surge, and it's not a very nice mixture. It's basically, it's not the worst case scenario, but it's one of the worst, especially in a long time.
And you know, with this current deepening in air pressure, you know, this thing, the question now still remains to be seen. Could he now reach Category 4? It's got to be quick if he's going to do it, but I hope he doesn't. We all hope he doesn't. You know, if 940 is true, you know,
it could become a Cat 4, but its time is really, really closing.
Oh yeah, it's now hours are numbered, quite literally. Hours are numbered.
So if it's,
to be honest,
if it's going to have 130 mile per hour winds, it's going to have to do it now.
But well,
I am looking at the webcam at Alonso's Pass.
We saw it once or twice there.
yeah, looking at the latest update from Recon, they have now found major hurricane force winds north of the Eyewall. So, yeah, the major hurricane force winds are now starting to look like they have completely wrapped around the entire Eyewall, as you would expect, because it is high in Category 3. You know, how high is this thing going to go? Well, could it reach Cat 4, I should say. Not how high could it go, but that makes making it sound like as if it's got a lot more juice left in its tank, but not really. It's not got long left. But the question is now, could Cat 4 be likely?
From a scientific standpoint, it's getting to be a very outstanding eyewall at this point, and whole area around the central region.
Just to confirm, well, according to Caesar, in apparently the fixed data that they did find, well, did report was 940 millibar, 0.3 millibars. So still awaiting the drop zone data, but if that is what the plane reported, that could be very easily what could be could be occurring. But just to confirm, NOAA 2 mission has now finished, so that's that one out of the game. So we've only got one reconnaissance left in Harvey, and that is the AF-307,
Okay.
the 19th mission into Harvey. So this would probably be the recon that continues up until landfall for Harvey.
Stay with us. No more tornado warnings at this point, apart from the one that's already in effect in Aransas County and southeastern Refugio County in Texas. And radar, again, more severe weather about to arrive in Corpus Christi, and the Eyewall will be in that vicinity or just north of there in, I'd say, an hour's time, Craig. An hour and a half.
Yeah, an hour and a half at the very best, but it's looking more likely. This Eyewall, just looking at it, it is looking, I would say, immaculate for a Category 3. You know, and the cloud tops are continuing to blow up even more, so, you know, it's only gonna get worse from here. So, you know, conditions are continuing to deteriorate rapidly. So I just hope all the people on Gulf Coast, you know, hunker down and just hope for the best. And I wish you all the best of luck down on the Gulf Coast.
Cesar, you've been quiet for a while. Any thoughts? Is he there?
Sorry for taking so long. I was kind of busy, but well, my thoughts here is, well, more than my thoughts, I have like the fear that the people is not really prepared for this kind of disaster that is likely going to happen, because of course the drought of not having such a storm of this intensity in many years is something that maybe some people may have underestimated. So this is kind of concerning, because the storm's still looking really good, and the pressure still dropping. The eye is looking pretty awesome, even that is practically almost inland.
Yeah.
That represents how intense and how much energy is the storm is picking. And well, this is just an amazing, I mean, not amazing like wow, good. I mean, amazing in the sense that a really bad situation is likely going to happen in the next hours, and practical, and maybe this situation we could say like Harvey's making history, or maybe this going to be on the records for this such an event that is going to happen.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a historic event.
Oh yeah.
It's already enough that it's going to be raining like feet of rain, not just inches, but actual feet of rain. In some spots, maybe 3 feet. That's the worst part of the system overall. But when you add wind to the mixture, especially it's heading for populated areas, and you also have storm surge on the coast, it's definitely not good whatsoever.
And offshore from the Texas case, Don't rule out 40 to 50 foot waves, and storm surge is going to be a key issue. But I'm hoping somebody might be able to tell me what the high tides are, low and high tide for the Texas region.
I'll try to get that up as fast as I can.
Just looking at the AF307 mission, they're now going up the eastern side, coming out from the southeastern quadrant of the hurricane, moving up north, straight up the north, going through the eastern side of the hurricane. So this pretty much could define whether they're going to do this final eastern quadrant pass, or on the western side they're going to try and see what hurricane force winds are on the east or on the western side. So this could be the definition. This could be the difference between whether it could be Cat 4, very very close, or at least the strongest 125 miles per hour, which it already is. So whether it stays the same, but this is going to be possibly the defining pass from recon, whether it could be a category 4 or it still remains as a high in category 3. But regardless of Cat 4 intensity or not, it's still a major hurricane, it's still a major threat. It's a historic event regardless. So to be honest, I know the people on the Gulf Coast are I know they're, and they should be extremely worried, and I understand that they are, and quite rightly so, that this is a significant hurricane. It's the first major hurricane landfall in a very long time.
To interrupt you, Craig, but the next high tide for Corpus Christi would be at 6:46 p.m. So that's like about an hour.
Wow.
Oh my! So there's the storm surge. What did we say? Storm surge, possibly anywhere from 6 to 12 feet.
All tornado warnings have expired, and the latest eye temperature is plus 13, which is almost the highest it's been. It was 14 not long ago. So staying pretty steady there, and it is at least borderline category 3-4.
Yeah, in the last few frames possibly trying to at least push category 4, but if it stays category 3, to be honest, no, I don't think anyone on the Gulf Coast, well, I want to phrase that very carefully and very carefully, but regardless, I'm going to say this, regardless of if it does achieve category 4 or not, regardless of it, it's a major hurricane. It's a historic event. It's the first category. It's the first major hurricane landfall in a very long time, and it's the first Texas first Texas hurricane in a long time since Hurricane Ike, and that's in its own is it's something to behold that such a hurricane at this has pretty much defied all expectations of it. It's pretty much bent the boundaries quite a bit, and pretty much near off all of its life. It's bent it's pushed the boundaries by quite a substantial margin. And looking at the last image, this eye is just getting better and better, and it's getting a lot more defined and a better defined stadium effect.
So as we approach the end of this hour, Harvey about to move ashore, and I have to say, you look at that imagery, Craig. Let's try and get the radar back actually to see just exactly what's going on the ground. That'll take a moment or two. And I just want to see how close we are from the Eyewall moving through, and
well, we're not far off. We really are not far off.
Yeah,
because
I figured.
The Go 16 visible imagery, that Eyewall is pretty much less, maybe coming up to an hour, maybe
well, the
less.
infrared imagery suggests that it would be over the area already, but that's just sort of the peripheral Eyewall. The radar shows this, and you can see on this imagery that the inner Eyewall, you could say potentially an outer Eyewall, is over the Port Aransas area now up to Port O'Connor, Rockport,
Yeah.
and almost into Corpus Christi, just about, not long. But the inner Eyewall there is still moving towards the coast, and that can only be around 20 miles offshore now.
Yep. No less than, if not less, but I would agree with 20 miles for now. It's the best estimate by far. It's probably the best and safest estimate.
Right.
But looking at Harvey right now on radar, this thing, it's hard to imagine that only 2 days ago this thing was barely a depression when it was reformed, and now look, pretty much 48 hours later, it's an absolute monster.
Let's get that visible view back again. This is the visible frames in the last 40 minutes. In fact, I'm just about to update the view here. This is a little bit out of date. Here's the updated view now, which the loop ends just 2 minutes ago. The western cloud tops appear to be rising substantially in those last few frames.
Yeah, along with some of the...
A little bit, though I suspect that some of it is the sun starting to go down a little bit.
Over. Yeah.
Can I just cut in?
At the Eyewall.
Yeah.
And ask Craig, has he got any updated information from the recon flight? Because I think there could be information indicating the winds are now 145 miles per hour, which would, Nathan, make it Cat 4?
Yeah, at flight level, I'd imagine.
Well,
Because
Craig
if
already
that
mentioned
was
150 mile an
right,
hour winds at flight level earlier.
150.
Yeah, that was a
Alright,
gust.
well,
That was just a recorded gust, so no need to panic.
A gust, okay.
Yeah, so that was 10-second gust.
Of course, on the National Hurricane Centre's update, which is coming up in just a few minutes' time, they will let us know what the latest wind reports are along the coast. It's going to be hurricane force very soon. It's inevitable.
But just looking at the recon right now, they are now heading straight for the eye of Harvey. So they're now going to go and see what's on the western quadrant of the Eyewall. So this could, as I said, this could be the defining moment where this thing could have achieved Category 4 status or not. But as I'm going to reiterate, regardless of Category 4 status or not, it's still a major hurricane regardless, and it's going to do significant damage regardless. Category 3 hurricane will do substantial roof damage, even removing entire roofs off of houses, shattering windows completely, blowing down doors and doing significant structural damage, and causing significant flooding along the coast and further and far inland. So I'm just going to check and see if Microwave Imagery has got a new image out, and the answer is no, it has not, as per usual.
Okay.
Every time we go live, it seems I'm not going to put out a microwave image until we're finished. Archer. Oh well.
I'm just working on getting some new stuff up at the moment. Just to note, there's still no tornado warnings out there currently, which is obviously good news. The tornado watches are still in effect for huge chunks of the area. A National Hurricane Centre will be updating shortly with new information, and they just have. The update is now out. A station at Aransas Pass, run by the Texas Coastal Observing Network, recently reported a sustained wind of 67 miles per hour with a gust to 81. Right now, the storm is at 27.6 north, 96.6 west, 50 miles east-southeast of Corpus Christi, 55 miles south-southwest of Port O'Connor, Texas. 125 mile an hour winds. If you've just joined us and didn't realise, it is now on the verge of becoming a Category 4. Still a Category 3, 205 kilometers per hour. Present movement northwest at 10 miles per hour, which means that the Eyewall will make landfall in the Matagorda Island area, not far from Corpus Christi in 2 hours or less, probably 1.5 hours now. The minimum central pressure is 941 millibars.
But I don't know if there any more information is coming out of recon. No, not yet. But as we speak, they probably are flying through the through the eastern eye wall of Harvey, northeastern side, and probably going to be entering the eye pretty soon, I'd imagine, and then going to be entering the western quadrant of the hurricane. As I said, this could be the defining moment, whether it is or not a Category 4 hurricane.
Yeah, this is honestly a very scary situation, especially for anybody that had decided to stay on the coastline and ride this thing out. Hopefully none of the viewers are one of those people, but if you are,